Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The next topic is about project crashing. Crashing means compressing the project to a certain deadline. That may be very much needed because it may be a good trade-off to crash the project and get more profit. Let's take the example again, which I discussed earlier from the start of the lecture about 430 megawatt Barka power plant. And let's say instead of 36 months, we are going to complete this in 35 months. So 1 month is advanced in its construction. We have 430 megawatt, and let's make it kilowatts. So 10 raised to power 3 kilowatt per megawatt, and assuming that it will work 24 hours for 24 hours per day with full capacity, and for 30 days, 1 month. Okay, 30 days per month, let's say. And assuming that the profit it will get is for each kilowatt hour sold is 10 paisa per kilowatt hour. Okay, that's the profit by selling electricity. And let's make this paisas into reals. So we have 1 real has 10 raised to power 3 paisas. Okay, so now what we do is we just cancel this. Megawatt cancels, kilowatt cancels, hour cancels with hour, days cancel with days, and paisa cancels with paisa. And we have 10 raised to power 3 can also be cancelled with this 10 raised to power 3. So we are left with 430 multiplied by 24 multiplied by 30 and multiplied by 10 reals, which comes out to be greater than about 3 million reals. So you can see that, let's say we finish this project in 35 months instead of 36 months. So 1 month is crashed. Now, of course, crashing means more cost because we have to put extra labor, extra machinery, and extra resources to complete the project in 1 month. Let's say that extra cost is 1 million real. But we can see that with putting 1 million real extra cost, we are making 3 million real. This means that still the profit is 2 million real. So it is very much needed to find out the trade-off, that how much we can crash the project or compress the project, and what is the net benefit coming from it. We can make a trade-off between cost and the profit, and where the best crashing would be, we can do that. Also, sometimes the projects, they get late, so we may have to crash the activities. For crashing the project, we should have for each activity normal time and normal cost. Okay, how much it takes to complete the activity in normal time, what is the time taken, and what is the cost of completing the project activity in normal time. Now, we also need the crash time, that how much we can crash this activity. Okay, the shortest possible activity time, and of course it will require additional resources, so we should also have the crash cost. It is the price of completing the activity in the earlier than normal time, which is the crash time. To crash the project, again we need normal time, normal cost, crash time, and crash cost. Now there are 4 steps we can do to crash the project. Find the normal critical path, as we have seen how to find the normal critical path using PERT or PERT CPM, and identify the critical activities. Then compute the crash cost per week or per unit time, whatever the unit time is. It could be week, per day, per week, per month, whatever the unit is there. So crash cost per week, assuming that week is our period, for all activities in the network using the formula, and we find out the crash cost per week. Just crash cost over time period is equal to crash cost minus normal cost divided by normal time minus crash time. Okay. Now remember that the crashing should be done with least cost, and crashing can only be possible if we crash the activities on the critical path. If we crash non-critical activities, it will not reduce the total project completion time. So when we are doing the crashing, we should be careful that we have to take into account the 2 things. First is that the activity should be critical and it should be also least cost. So select the activity on the critical path with the smallest crash cost per week and crash this activity to the maximum extent possible, or to the point at which you desired your deadline has been achieved. While crashing the activity, we have to also see that there may be another critical path emerge. So check to be sure that the critical path you are crashing is still critical, or there may be another critical path as well. So if the critical path is still the longest path through the network, return to step 3. If not, find the new critical path and return to step 2, or return to step 3, I would say. Now we will see the example of Foundry, General Foundry example, which we have seen earlier. Let's say the General Foundry has been given 14 weeks instead of 16 weeks. Remember that we saw that the normal time to complete the project was 15 weeks. Now the critical path for the project is 15 weeks. We have seen that. What options do they have? The normal and crash times and costs are shown in table 13.9. We will see that, and crash costs are assumed to be linear. So shows the crash cost for activity B. It's shown over here. Okay, this is let's say this is our table here, in which we have made these normal time, crash time, normal cost, crash cost, and the crash cost per week is calculated, and critical paths are, we know that these are the critical paths, we have done it earlier. Crash time is the earliest possible time to complete the activity. Now crash cost per week is very simple. Crash cost per week is calculated For example, let's look at activity G. The crash cost is 86,000 minus normal cost is 80,000 divide by we have 3 weeks of crashing. Normal time minus the crash time. Okay, normal time is 5 minus 2 is 3, so it is 6,000 divided by 3. We have 2,000. That is per week, $2,000 per week. You can see that this is very simple to calculate, and we should have this crash cost per week as well. So we will first see this example of crashing the project with the manually, and then of course in the actual projects are having thousands of activities, we cannot crash manually, so we need some kind of a program, optimization program to optimally do it, and then we will see how linear programming can help us in crashing the project. So first of all, let's look at how we can do manually. It's the same table I have shown you earlier. We have normal cost, crash cost, normal time, normal time, crash time, normal cost, crash cost, and crash cost per week is there, and the critical path is there. We can see here is the network drawn. The critical path, remember, that is the one with no slack, 0 slack. So here is the slack is 0 here, s is equal to 0, s is equal to 0 here, s is equal to 0 here, and s is equal to 0 here. And s is equal to 0 here. So we have the path is A, C, E, G, and H, and the normal time it is taking to complete is 15 weeks. We have here we have a slack of 1. As you know, 4 minus 3 or 1 minus 0 is 1. 4 minus 3 is 1 here. Also slack is 1 here, and slack is 6 here. 10 minus 4 is 6. Remember this is the earliest start, this is earliest finish here, latest start, latest finish. So slack is latest start minus earliest start, or latest finish minus earliest finish. Now when we have to crash, remember that what I said, there is a rule. One is that the activity should be critical, and the second is that it should be least cost. Now if we look at the cheapest cheapest activity to crash is activity F, but activity F is a non-critical activity. So if we crash this activity, we are not going to reduce the project completion time. However, we have, these are the activities which are A, C, E, G, and H. Activity A, C, E are all equal, $1,000 per week, and activity G and H are of course $2,000 per week and $3,000 per week. Now instead of having 1,000, I would like to try to differentiate this. Let's make this as 800 instead of 1,000, and let's make activity C as 900. Let's keep the other two same. So now if we look at that, we can see that, okay, the normal time to complete this project is 15 weeks, right? But we want to make it to 14 weeks, let's say, or I would say 13 weeks. I can show you how to crash to 13 weeks, let's say, okay, manually. So first thing what we do is we see that the cheapest activity which is critical is activity A, 800, right? I just wanted to make it differentiate from the other activities. So we select activity A to crash. This means that instead of completing this activity in normal time of 2 weeks, we make it to 1 week. All right, so here is the network, and I have put A to 1 instead of 2, so which means that we have crashed. I'm going to complete this activity in 1 week, and then we can finish this earliest start, earliest finish, latest start, latest finish by making a forward pass. We will finish earliest start, earliest finish, and by making a backward pass we will complete the latest finish and latest starts. So we start from here, assuming we start at the 0 time, then 0 1 1 is the earliest finish, and then this one will be 1 plus 2 is 3 here, and here we have 3 plus 4 is 7 here. Here 3 plus 3 is 6, and then on this side we have 0 and 3, and 3 plus 4 is 7 here. Now the earliest start of activity G is then 7th week. 7 plus 5 is 12, and 12 is the earliest start for activity H. 12 plus 2 is 40. We have made a forward pass. Now we can make a backward pass to know if there is any other critical path. So we go from here, latest start, 14 minus 2 is 12 here, then we come here, 12 minus 5 is 7 here, and 7 minus 4 is 3 here, and 3 1 and 1 0. This can be delayed. 12 minus 3 is 9 here. Yeah, and then here we have 7 minus 4 is 3, and 3 and 0. So now you can see that let's find out the slacks here. S is equal to 0 here, the same old S is equal to 0, S is equal to 0, S is equal to 0, and S is equal to 0. Here S is equal to 6, and then here we have S is equal to 0 also, and S is equal to 0 here, slack is 0. So now we can see that we have actually two critical paths. One is the earlier one, A, C, E, G, and H. This is critical. And another path is B, D, G, and H. B, D, G, and H. This means that now if we are going to crash, we have to look at both the paths, not single path, but both the path. And we have to choose also the cheapest one. All right. We can also note that activity G and H are common to both the path. So we can select actually activity G or H, which is the cheapest, and we are done with it. But we have to see that it is possible that we crash activity 1 from this path and one from this path, and that is cheapest than crashing common activity on both the path. So let's see. We have, if we look at that, activity C is now 900, and activity D, which is on the other path, is activity D and C. Look at that. Activity C is 900 and activity D is 1000 per week. So if we crash 1 week from activity C and 1 week from activity D, the total cost is 1900, right? And if we crash a common activity, let's say G or H, which is common to both the path, G or H, we see that G is $2,000 per week and H is 3000. This means that crashing activity C and D will be cheapest. Activity C is 900 plus 1000. So this is for activity C and this is for activity D. So total is $1900. That is possible to make it to 13 weeks. So let's see. One thing more we note, that when we crash the activity A, we have increased the total project completion time by project cost by $800. Now we do the same here. Now same process, we start from 0 here and 1, and now we change the activity C to, we crash it to 1 week. Remember that we are going to crash activity C to 1 week, and also activity D, we are going to crash it to, instead of 4 we will make it 3. Then we do the same. 1 plus 1 is 2 here, and this is 2 plus 4 is 6 here. Here 0 plus 0, 3. 3 plus 3 is 6 here. Earlier start of activity G is 6. 6 plus 5 is 11 here. F can be started at earliest is 2. 2 plus 3 is 5. And here we have 11 plus 2 is 13 here. And then we go back, 13 minus 2, 11, 11, 6, 6, 2, 6, 3, 3, 0, 2, 1, 1, 0. So we have crashed activity C and D by 1 week each, and we have achieved our target. Of course, this one is 11. 11 minus 3 is 8. So only activity F is having a slack. S is equal to 6. The others are 0. The total cost will increase by 800 coming from activity A crashing, plus activity C is $900, plus activity D is $1000. So what we have is $2,700 increase from the original. That's the way how to crash the project manually. If we want to crash further, we have to again look at both the path and crash the activities. We have to choose on the critical path the activities to be crashed, and also we have to choose the cheapest activity. Remember, we didn't crash activity A because activity A has only 1 week to crash. The difference between normal time and crash time is only 1 week. Only 1 week can be crashed. Then it is not possible to crash this activity further. That's why we didn't crash activity A, we crashed activity C instead. If you have to further crash activities, of course A and C now cannot be further crashed. We have to look which activity then can be crashed. Of course activity E can be crashed, which is $1,000, and activity B can be crashed, but activity B is costing us $2,000 and E will be costing us $1,000, so it is $3,000. Activity G is cheaper, then the next crashing will be activity G, which is common to both the paths. That's how you can crash the project and see how much cost is increased. Now the next topic is how to do it with using linear programming, because the actual projects of course could be hundreds of activities, and in that case we need some kind of a software to do the job.